Hey, this is Todd from One Shot API, and in this video we're going to be building a decentralized application from scratch using a few different agentic coding tools, one of them being One Shot API's new MCP server. And I've got an outline for us today. We're going to be building an application called 402 Express, which is going to be a decentralized version of Substack. And in terms of the tools that we're going to be using One Shot Pay to pay for premium articles from our decentralized Substack. And the article content itself, we're going to be pinning to Pinata Cloud, which has a really nice and easy to use X402 gateway that you can gate private content behind. So I'm going to show you how to use that. And we're going to design our site using variant.ai. This is a super useful tool. I've been using it a lot lately for helping me with initial mock-ups of websites, and here is an example. This is kind of our target of what we're aiming for in this tutorial. So our decentralized Substack is going to look something like this. So then once we've got our design and we've got our Pinata Cloud and One Shot Pay account set up, we're going to be building the actual application in Replit, and we're going to be connecting One Shot API's new MCP server to Replit so that Replit knows how to integrate One Shot Pay into the site to pay for the content. So I'm breaking this down into a 3-part tutorial. The first part is going to be setting up One Shot Pay and Pinata Cloud so that you're ready to use that with the Replit coding agent. The second part is going to be designing the site in Variant. And then lastly, we're going to hopefully one-shot the prompt in Replit so that we can have a fully operational application with a single prompt in Replit where we're also going to host the application. So let's get started. We're going to need One Shot Pay to receive payment from people paying for content on our site. So let's start by going to One Shot Pay and creating a business account to receive payment from. So go to oneshotpay.com and use a web browser like Chrome or Safari. This is a passkey-based payment application. So let's log in, and I'm going to use the username of my fictitious company, which is going to be 402 Express. And I'm going to register that. Great, now I'm logged in, and I'm going to just set up my profile a little bit more here by coming to the Profile tab and hitting Edit. And I've got an icon that I generated with ChatGPT earlier. And then I'm going to save it. Now I've got my business account. And then later on, once we start building the application and setting up our X402 gateway, down here in the advanced settings, you can actually get the address of your account on the base network, and that's where we're going to be receiving USDC from people paying for content. So now we've got our One Shot Pay account ready to go. It only took a few seconds. Let's go to Pinata Cloud. So if you go to pinata.cloud and log in or create a free account if you don't have one already. I'm going to walk you through the process of how private content works on Pinata with their X402 gateway. So the first thing is there's files. We've got public files and we've got private files. So we're going to be uploading private content. So this is not going to be accessible from the general IPFS node network. Let's go ahead and add some content to it right now. I've got a markdown file that's like a dummy blog that I've written already. So I'm going to upload this. Now that I've got this private file uploaded, I can attach this to an X402 payment method. And I want to use this X402 feature down here. And to do this, this is a paid feature, so you will need to sign up for one of the paid plans from the Pinata Cloud platform. So if you come over here and go to billing, they have 2 plans, paid plans available. There's the $20 a month and the $100 a month. The $20 a month gives you a ton of storage and 1 gateway. You can do a lot of stuff with the $20 a month, so I suggest going with that if you want to follow along with this tutorial. And then once you've got that paid account, let's come back over to the X402 tab and let's add a payment option. And so we're going to call this one 402 Express Example. So that's our name. And then description, this is going to be simple blog. And then the pay to address, let's pay to our One-Shot Pay business account that we just created. So if we come back to our One-Shot Pay account, back to advanced settings, grab that address, and then paste that address here. We want to pay on the actual base mainnet, which is going to be USDC as the payment asset. And then for the amount, let's just do 1 penny. So that's going to be a 1 with 4 zeros. And if you put in here, a decimal number, this isn't going to work. This is going to throw an error. You need to put this in atomic units of USDC. So for 1 cent, that's going to be 10,000 atomic units of USDC. So let's create that payment method. And now we can attach this payment method to our private content. So we come back to Files, click on the Private tab, use that payment instruction and hit Set. Now if we come back to X402 and click on that payment method, you see that this is our CID of that private content that we just uploaded. And if I copy this and put it into the browser, we'll get a 402 error code, which tells us the payment amount and a bunch of other information that the X402 payment client needs to know in order to make the payment. So that's great. We're all set up here. Now I did this manually in the user interface. When we build our application in a few minutes, this is all going to be done with code inside of our app, and the Pinata docs explain very nicely how to do this, but we're not actually going to read this stuff because we don't do that anymore. We're going to actually take this code example and give it to Replit, and Replit is going to code this up for us. But now I've got this private content. Let's just practice retrieving this content quickly. So there's a nice tool that we have set up for you for One-Shot Pay. I put this link into the YouTube description. The link is client-sdk-testbed.oneshotpay.com, and this lets you test all the different functionalities of the embedded One-Shot Pay wallet in your application before you actually integrate it into the app. So if we come over here and paste our X402 URL, and then also let's make sure we have a little bit of money to pay for this so that we can try it out for real. Come back over here to One-Shot Pay and in our account, I'm going to send my address a little bit of USDC. So I'm going to copy that address, and then from my OKX wallet, I'm going to send 20 cents worth of USDC to it. And now you can see I've got 20 cents of USDC in my One-Shot Pay account. You can also use the deposit function and deposit from your Coinbase account for free. This was just a little faster for me to send the USDC directly. So now that I've got that account funded, let's test out our premium Pinata endpoint here. I'm going to do a GET request on that URL that I copied right here. Hit request. And it's going to ask me to confirm this transaction. So I'm paying to 402 Express. I'm going to hit approve. And then here you can see it returned the output of our blog here, so we can confirm that that endpoint does in fact work, and we can pay for it with the X402 protocol. And if I come back over here to my One-Shot Pay account and just kind of refresh the screen here, you can see I paid my 1 cent to myself, and that works out. So just a little thing here I had to do to make this work, to test this out. Pinata will not let you test sending payments to yourself. It will reject those kinds of payments. So what I had to do was come back over into Pinata and briefly change the pay to address back to my OKX wallet in order to test this. But when I build my app, I'm going to put this back to my One-Shot Pay account so that I can see my business name show up in the payment details whenever the users pay for it. So that's part 1 of the tutorial. We did all this manually. Next, we're going to design the site and use that design as a reference for the Replit coding agent. And then we're going to integrate Pinata and One-Shot Pay into our 402 Express application. All right, now it's time to design what our Web3 application is going to look like. And I've been using recently this product called Variant AI. And it's free to use. You can get a lot of designs out of it for free before it starts charging you. So come to variant.ai or variant.com and sign in to create a free account. And when you sign in, you'll see a bunch of designs made by people who have published their designs already using this. We're going to create one from scratch for our decentralized Substack. So hit the little edit or compose button over here on the left-hand side, and it's going to give us a prompt window here. And the first thing I'm going to show you how to do is you can hit this plus button here, and it'll let you import photos or logos or things like that to give as context to the design agent. And you can also import URLs for it to look at to give it context of what you're looking for. So I'm going to show you how to do that first. Let's first attach the logo that I designed using ChatGPT. So I'm going to attach this logo. You can see I can visualize that logo here. And then I'm going to import Substack. Okay, so now it's importing the Substack site. We're going to reference that as well. And then I'm also going to import the one-shot pay application so that I've got all three of these assets as reference for my prompt that I'm going to give it. Okay, so it might take a few seconds, but eventually you'll see the URLs that you import show up so that you can visualize that you've imported the correct sites. So now let's give it a prompt. We don't need to be too crazy or creative with it. Just basically tell it exactly what we want and then see what it generates. So let's write a prompt in here. Okay, so we're going to keep our prompt to variant super simple. And what I came up with is design a site called 402 Express that is similar to Substack. And I've referenced the Substack imported URL here, where users can make one-time payments to read premium articles from different authors. And the payments are made in USDC using one-shot pay, and I reference the one-shot pay URL here. And I say keep the site simple and focused on written content. We're not going to be doing video content for this one or other kinds of content, just to keep this tutorial focused and easy to follow. So I'm going to give it this prompt and then wait for it to generate some designs. Okay, so it thought for a few minutes and it generated some candidate designs, which you can see here. And they're very similar to what I showed you at the beginning of the tutorial. They're all fairly similar, very clean, simple designs. I kind of like this one that it came up with here. So if we click on it to get a bigger view, it's got this nice support independent voices directly. So it kind of came up with some verbiage for us that I kind of like. And you can scroll and see different articles here. And it's got buttons here to click to pay with one-shot pay. There's a button here for authors to click and post and pin their own content. So I think I'm going to go with this design. Now, when you're using Variant, you can actually share this with your team members super easily if you're working with some partners. If you come over here to the export button and click that, you can hit open in a new tab and it'll give you a public URL. Then you can share this design with people you might be working with to get feedback on. And another nice thing that it can do, if you take this candidate design, you can start a new chat with it so that you can edit from a new chat context. So like if you click this hamburger menu here and hit new chat from design, that'll basically fork it for you and you can continue to iterate on it with a new chat window. So I'm going to keep it as it is, and I want to get the HTML that created this design because I'm going to take it and give it to the Replit coding agent next as the basis for the new app that we're going to create. So to do that, back over here on export, you can hit copy code, and then we'll paste that code into a .html file, and then we'll tell the Replit coding agent to base its design of our app we're going to create on this variant HTML design. Okay, now that we've got our one-shot pay and Pinata business accounts set up and we've got our design from Variant created and saved in an HTML file, we're ready to start building the app in Replit. And the goal here is to be able to build this in as few prompts as possible. Hopefully one prompt will get it. But before we do that, we need to connect the OneShot API MCP server to our Replit account. This is going to have instructional tools that the Replit coding agent is going to use to figure out how to integrate OneShot Pay. So to do that, first come to oneshotapi.com and create a free account if you don't have one already. But once you've got the account, we don't need to actually set anything up. We can just come back to the home page and click the Add to Replit button in the Hero section. And then this is going to pop up the MCP connector dialog box in Replit. So hit Test and Save, and then authorize the server, and you'll get a screen like this. Hit Accept. Then if you scroll down here in the integrations section, you should see OneShot API show up as active. And if it's active, that means that the Replit coding agent can use the tools exposed from OneShot API. So now if we come back to home, let's attach a couple of our assets. Let's upload our X402 icon. Let's upload the X402 Express logo. And here is the variant design that I saved from earlier when I copied it from the variant UI. So let's open all three of these. And next, let's put our prompt. And the prompt I'm going to put here, I'm going to put into the YouTube description, so you can have the exact same prompt that I'm using here, and you can edit it as is appropriate for your application that you want to build. But I'm going to copy this and paste it here into the agent UI, and now I'm going to tell it to start. And so the agent's going to run for a while. It might also ask us for our OneShot API credentials and potentially also our Pinata credentials. So watch for that over here on the left-hand side and give it those credentials as needed. And then just sit back and wait for the first version of your 402 Express app to finish. Okay, so the Replit coding agent is asking me for my Pinata JWT. Like I was saying, it might ask us for some of these credentials. So let's get our Pinata JWT so I can show you how to do that. Coming back to the Pinata user interface, over here on API keys, we're going to add a new key and give it a name. And let's give it write permissions on everything except for analytics, because we don't need analytics. And for groups, we actually don't need groups, but let's give it read permission on that, and then let's hit create. And then this will give you an API key in secret, but we need the JWT, so copy that and give that to Replit. And then let it continue. Okay, so after I waited about 10 minutes, the Replit coding agent finished. And one thing I learned after giving it a very short test drive was that the JWT token that we created did not have the correct permissions on it. So I want to back up just a second. And if you follow these directions, it should actually get your app done in a single prompt. When you make your API key, make sure you create it with admin permissions. And then once you create it with admin permissions, use that, and you will be able to create the payment instructions needed to attach to the private content. If we don't have right permissions for groups and for analytics, you may not be able to create those payment instructions, and then your app will throw errors. So other than that, I had to touch nothing else, and it worked. So let's use the preview link here to give it a test drive. So over here in the preview screen in the right corner here, if you click that, it'll give you a full page preview of your new app. So one thing we could edit here is the logo is a little small. We could make that bigger to make it look nicer, but other than that, the app looks pretty good. So let's first create an article. So we'll hit start writing, and you can see we can give it a title, a description, and a body, give it our name, the category we want to publish under, and the payment address and how much we want to charge per read. So let's do that quickly. Now, I have entered the text from my dummy blog article that I used at the beginning of the video, And for my payment address, I'm going to use the address from my One-Shot Pay account that I created earlier that has my business name on it. So let me grab that, paste that here. And then for my price, I'm going to keep it cheap. I'm going to do 5 cents per read, and I'm going to hit Publish Article. Great, and so the article is now published. You can see here, One-Shot Pay and Pinata, Match Made in Heaven. That's the one that I just pinned. And if I come back over here into Pinata, and I look at my X402 gateways, this one right here, there it is. That's the one pinned to my Pinata account. And now I want to pay for it so that I can read the content. So I'm going to take my public preview link and go to my other Chrome profile where I've got my personal One-Shot Pay account. And I'm going to pay to read this article. And I'll sign in. And it's saying that 402 Express has asked me to pay $5. There's the icon for my business account, and I'll hit approve, and it's processing the payment. And then there is my article that I paid 5 cents for. And then there is the content that I pinned to Pinata. And if I come back to my other Chrome profile, you can see that I have 5 more cents than I had earlier. So with that, that is a complete walkthrough on how to create decentralized Substack in just a few minutes with a single prompt. So just to recap what we did in this video, we first set up a business account in One-Shot Pay to receive payments from people paying for our articles in our application. Then we set up an account in Pinata where we subscribed for the $20 a month plan so that we could get access to the X402 private content gateway. And then with those 2 tools, we went to Replit and used our mock-up from Variant AI to tell the Replit coding agent that we wanted a decentralized Substack where users pay with One-Shot Pay and authors pin content to Pinata's private content gateway. And it gave it to us in one prompt. Only hiccup was our JWT needed to be admin privileged. One other quirk to watch out for is that the description fields for the X402 payment methods can't be too long, or you'll have problems with the creation of the payment method. So give that a shot. Reach out to the One-Shot API team in our Telegram channel if you want to discuss this idea further. Check out the YouTube description for some of the written details on this tutorial. And we're going to publish this app so that you can use it for real, and watch out for that on our social announcements later on. Thanks for watching, everyone.